Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. This is our new lesson for Nahu at-Tatbiqi after the 2025 Ramadan. So we shall be having it until the next Ramadan. Then we have a break. And today the topic of interest is اقتران اقتران جواب الشرط بالفاء. اقتران الجواب الشرطي بالفاء. اقتران is, we can say, coupling or pairing. When you pair or when you associate al-jawab al-shart, you remember that in Islam, in Arabic, if you are constructing a conditional sentence, we have three components: the particle, and then the fi'l al-shart, the verb of the shart, and the jawab al-shart. But there are some instances where the jawab al-shart, which is the apodosis, is paired with fa, the letter fa, right? It's paired with the letter fa. And these are the instances we're going to look at. When are you required to pair the jawab al-shart with fa? And what kind of fa is that? So the writer is saying, يجب اقتران جواب الشرط بالفاء. He said it's required. It's a requirement. It's essential that you pair the جواب الشرط with fa. إذا لم تصلح أو تصلح لجملة جواب لأن تقع بعد أداة الشرط. If it is not appropriate for the جملة جواب. Okay, we have جملة الجواب. If it's not appropriate in Arabic for the جملة الجواب to occur right after the أداة الشرط. So here we are saying that this is an instance where the جملة الجواب cannot appear or cannot occur right after the adatu shart. That's the particle of conditions. Now let's look at the footnote. It's telling us what kind of fa we are dealing with here. It's not foul yani al-ataf. It's not a fa of conjunction. So what kind of fa is this? So footnote 1, he's saying that هذه الفاء تسمى فاء الربط. This fa is called fa'u ar-rab. You can say ar-rab with the stone or rabat. Now, when we say rabata, connect or to attach. So fa'u rabt basically is a connective or conjunctive fa. So it connects, or you can also call it au fa'ul jawab. Fa'ul jawab. So anytime you do iqtiran of the jawab al-shart with fa, that fa is called fa'ul rab or fa'ul jawab. وهي حرف زائد. It's a harf zaid. It's just what? Augmented letter. It's augmented letter. It's just an added letter. It doesn't play any critical grammatical function. So in Lugat al-Arabiya, most of the time when they say a harf is zaid, what we derive from that is that or by implication, the harf is nothing. It's just there. It's like a placeholder. It's holding a place. It doesn't have any important grammatical function to play, or it doesn't have any power to make something mansub or majrur or majzum or marfu. It doesn't have that power. So it just zaid. لمجرد, he said it's only الربط الجواب. It's just to connect the جواب الشرط. وليست للعطف. You see, it's not a word of conjunction like end. It's not end. ولا غيره, and nothing else. So how do you do the إعراب of such a fa? تؤرب الفاء مع الجملة التي بعدها. So you do the إعراب of the fa with the جملة that is after it. في محل الجزم جواب الشرط. So you can say الفاء حرف الزائدة في محل الجزم جواب الشرط. That's it. All right. So that is the fa we are dealing with when you connect it to the جواب الشرط. That fa is fa الربط fa الجواب. Let's go back to the explanation. وقد جمعت مواضع التي لا تصله فيها جملة الجواب لأن تقع بعد أداة الشرط. He's saying that scholars have brought together مواضع, situations that it is not appropriate grammatically for the jumlatul jawab to come after the أداة الشرط. في قول قائل, القائل, from a statement made by someone. So this is a mnemonic, right? It's a mnemonic statement, or it's like a poetic statement to basically summarize situations where you have to apply the foul rabt. Number one, اسمية وطلبية وبجامد وبما وقد وبلن وبالتنفيس وبالتنفيس. So these are the situations where you do the اقتران الجواب الشرط بالفاء. اسمية طلبية وبجامد وبما وقد وبلن وبالتنفيس. We're going to explain all these situations. So first we're going to look at number one at tanfis, and then we look ismiya, sorry. Number two we look at طلبية, and then number three we look at jamid, and then ma, bima, and then we have qad, number five, and then lan, number six, and then we have tanfis. Tanfis is simply a situation where you flip fi'l al-mudari into a future. We're going to talk about it. In grammar, we call it at-tanfis. At-tanfis. A situation where you flip or you change fi'l al-mudari into the future by using sin or sofa. By using sin or sofa. And that's what we call grammatically as tanfis. We're going to explain, talk about it later, inshallah. Now, let's look at the bayan. Let's look at the bayan of these poetic statement. أن يكون جملة أن يكون جملة اسمية or جملة جواب, right? أن يكون, what is he talking about? أن يكون أي أن يكون جملة الجواب, right? أن يكون جملة الجواب. It should have been like that. أن يكون جملة الجواب. That's what he means by أن يكون. It must be, right? It must be. The it refers to the jumla to jawab. أن يكون جملة الجواب جملة اسمية. The jumla to jawab must be jumla to اسمية. Now, let's look at it. Key example from the Quran, as always. قوله تعالى, قول الله, قوله تعالى وإن يمسسك بخير فهو. You see the fa, وإن. So this is أداة الشرط. In plus what? Fa. because of the in, right? This is the adatu shart. Fa. Wa in yamsaska bi khairin fa. So you cannot say wa in yamsaska bi khairin huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. Now, why is this fa needed here? Because the jumla to jawab, which is huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir, is jumla to ismiya, right? Because it's a ism. Huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. There is no fail here. There is no single fail in this sentence. And also, it's starting with ism, which is what we call damir. Damir is a form of ism, isn't it? In Arabic grammar, when we talk about damir, we're talking about ism. So this statement, this sentence is jumlatul ismiya. So therefore, yajibu is required that we should what? Pair this jawabu shart with fa. Where is where we have the fail shart? The fail shart come here. Wa in yamsaska, wa in yamsaska, wa in yamsaska bi khairin. أداة الشرط فعل يمسس فعل مضارع right here وإن يمسسك بخير فهو على كل شيء قدير. Let's look at another ayah. وما تفعلوا وما تفعلوا من خير فإن الله. Now remember, this is جملة اسمية. إن الله right. إن الله اسم إن حرف النصر. الله اسم إن. So جملة اسمية. So therefore we have to say فإن fa. We have to bring this fa. So this fa is what we call the what? الفاء فاء الربط أو ربط أو ماذا؟ أو فاء الجواب. So you can call it فاء الربط or فاء الجواب or فاء الزائدة للربط فاء الزائدة للجواب. So you can see that anytime the جملة the jumla to jawab, right? Anytime the jumla to jawab, right? The jumla to jawab is jumla al-ismiya, right? Jumla al-ismiya. Then we have to pair, or we need to couple, or we need to associate, right? The beginning or the starting point of it with fa, or we have to pair it with fa. So the jumla to jawab must start with fa, or we have to pair it, right? So we have the adat, we have the fail, then we have the jawab here. And let's look at the أن يكون الجملة الفعلية الطلبي. So that's the next number 2, طلبي. Remember, we've discussed طلبي in our earlier. طلبي is a statement demanding somebody to do something. And طلبي is basically like أمر. We are commanding somebody to do something. So أن يكون الجملة الفعلية فعلها طلبي. Now, what we are saying is that the جملة الجواب must be جملة فعلية. Right? It must be jumla to fi'liya. Remember, jumla to fi'liya start with fail, right? However, the fail in that jumla to fi'liya must be talabi, It must command, it must demand, it must require somebody to do something. And that is talabun, right? Talab. So let's look at some examples. قوله تعالى قل إن كنتم تحبون الله فاتبعوني. Ittabi'uni, you are commanding somebody to follow you. So you cannot say kul in kuntum tuhibbuna Allah ittabi'uni. It's wrong. So you can see the reason why the fa is there is because number 1, ittaba'a is fi'lun. Ittaba'a. Ittabi'uni waw jama'a ni me. Ittabi'uni. You should follow me, plural. In kuntum tuhibbuna Allah in kuntum. Right? تحبون الله فاتبعوني فاء الربط. And then let's look at an example. من يطلب منك عونا فلا تتأخر عنه. من يطلب منك عونا. عونا means help. So anybody who is looking for help from you, if somebody is requesting help from you, فلا تتأخر عنه. Do not delay or do not dilly-dally. That is to say, help the person right away. Now look at فلا. fa, fa. فلا تتأخر جملة فعلية. تتأخر, you are asking the person not to delay. So this is طلب. So we need the foul rub or the foul jawab right there. Very, very important. Let's go on and look at the next one. أن يكون الجملة فعلية فعلها جامد. فعلها جامد. فعل جامد. When we say fail, a verb is jamid. We are talking about, you can say static verbs, or you can say rigid verbs. They have so many meanings. Or you can say inelastic verbs. These are verbs that do not conjugate, right? They don't conjugate. Or if you were, you can call them stone verbs. That's why I used to call them stone verbs. They are like stones. They, they don't grow, they don't get old. A stone is just a stone. So I use the name stone verbs to make me remember it. But it's basically a verb. Fi'l jamid does not what? Does not conjugate. It stays the way it is. And there are few in Arabic. So let's look at a footnote. There are very few, about 4 of them in Lugat al-Arabiya, so you can remember them. 4 of them. Fi'l af'alu jamida. These are what we call af'alu jamida. We have ni'ma, bi'sa, sa, laysa. See, these verbs, they don't conjugate. They are just like that. They are fi'lu. We call them fi'lu jamid. Asa, laysa. Remember, laysa and asa, they also belong to a particular family, right? Laysa and asa. One belongs to akhwatu kana and the other one belongs to. This is kana, and then because when you use laysa, we use it for mubtada or khabar. So you go back to Arab. This is one of the ismu kana, right? I'm sorry, if it's akhwatu kana. So ni'ma and bi'sa. Ni'ma is lil madhi, and then bi'sa lil them. So this is what we called. Sometimes I call it eulogical word, right? You use it to express praise for something. Bi'sa is basically is when you chastising something, chastisement. And ni'ma and bi'sa, asa and laysa, they are called af'alu jamida. Why? Because they don't morph, right? They don't morph. In morphological sense, they stay the same. They stay the same. They don't change. They don't change. So you can call them solid, stone, rigid, solid, stone, rigid verbs. So if you have af'alu jamida, right? If you have af'alu jamida in the jawab al jumla, then you have to introduce fa. So that's what the writer is saying. An yakuna jumla al fi'liya, right? The jumla must be jumla to fi'liya. However, the fi'l must be what? Jamid. So the jumla to fi'liya concept, we have two, right? It must be jumla to fi'liya, right? But it must start with talab. And then it must be jumla to fi'liya. It must start with what? Fi'l jamid. So we have the concept of fi'liya too here. Now let's look at it. Example. وَمَنْ يَفْعَلْ ذَلِكَ وَمَنْ يَفْعَلْ ذَلِكَ فَلَيْسَ وَمَنْ يَفْعَلْ ذَلِكَ fa, laysa. Laysa is here. So laysa is fi'l jamid. So we have the fa al-rabt or fa al-jawab. Fa al-jawab is here. فليس من الله في شيء. سورة آل عمران. ومن يفعل ذلك فليس من الله في شيء. Fa. So why do we have the fa here? It's because of the laysa. Why? The laysa is fi'l jamid. وقوله تعالى إن ترني إن ترني أنا أقل منك مالا وولدا فأسى. So the reason why somebody asks, why is fa here? Why is it not asa rabbi, but fa'asa rabbi? Is because of the in here. And then tarani, fi'l shart, jawabu shart here. So the jawabu shart is jumla to a fi'liya. But what kind of fi'l is that? Jamid. So let's look at point number 3. أن تكون جملة فعلية فعلها منفي. Must be negative. So it must be jumla to fi'liya, but it must be what? Manfi. Negative. With len or ma. Right? Remember, ma can be what? Right? And then ma can be not. For instance, when you say ma ja'a, he didn't come. But when you say ma hadha, what is this? Ma, that means what tends to dance with nouns. And then ma, that is not, tends to dance with verbs, but it's not always the case. So let's look at the example with len and ma. قوله تعالى وما يفعله من خير فلن لن negative, it will never. وما يفعله من خير فلن يكفروا. Whatever that they do in good deeds, it's never gonna go waste. It's never gonna be rejected or neglected or not paid for or not compensated for or not recompensed. So, فلن. وقوله تعالى وإن لم تفعل فما. وإن لم تفعل. So you cannot say. So sometimes people ask me, hey, sometimes I get confused when to say wa and fa. This is a lesson that helps a lot. Because here you are dealing with fa al jawab. If you say wa illam, then you know it's going to be fama. Don't say wa illam taf'al wama. Or wama yaf'alu min khairin walan yukfaru. No. وما يفعلوا من خير فاه وإن لم تفعل فاه. Grammatically, you need to bring fa here because of the word ma, right? Ma. And what jumla is that? فعلية بلغ بلغ فما بلغت بلغ, to deliver or to propagate or to disseminate. So let's look at the fifth element of the rule. أن يكون الجملة أن يكون جملة أي جواب الجملة فعلية. It must be فعلية again. So فعلية is dominating, right? So number 1, it must be فعلية, but it must start with جامد. And then it must be فعلية منفي. It must be فعلية, but must be طلب. And now it must be فعلية منفي, starting with لن and what? ما. Now it must be فعلية مقرون بقد. You see, it must be paired with the word قد. مقرون بقد. So if it is not paired or associated, attached to قد, then the fa is not going to come. So let's look at an example. إن يسرق. This is the brothers of Yusuf talking to Yusuf about the other brother. إن يسرق فقد. This is the qad. So you see that there's a fa here. That's the foul jawab. The foul jawab is here. Very, very important. And now, why is the foul jawab there? Because of the qad. And also, فعل سرق, to steal. سرق, to steal. When you steal something. إن يسرق فقد سرق جملة فعلية مقرون بإيه؟ بقد. أخ له من قبل. Let's look at the second example of this rule. وقوله تعالى ومن يفعل ذلك فقد. Surah Al-Baqarah. ومن يفعل. So you can see that the man is making this fail majzoom. فعل الشرط أداة الشرط هنا. ذلك فاء الجواب قد. قد مقرون بقد ظلم فعل. So قد ظلم نفسه جملة فعلية مقرون بماذا؟ بقد. فقد ظلم نفسه. So you can see again the fifth rule is saying that anytime the jawab al-jumla, right, is jumla to fi'liya, but the fi'l is what? Heard, or the fi'l has been attached with qad, or the fi'l is coupled with qad, or the fi'l is associated with qad, then you have to introduce fa. So you have to say faqad, right? Faqad. If it is manfi, you have to say falan or fama. And what fa is this? Is fa'ul jawab. It's not fa'ul atab. It's not end. It doesn't mean end, right? So let's look at tasweef. Tasweef. Or let's look at what we call at tanfis. Remember the word tanfis. Let's go back to where we started. There was tanfis right there. At tanfis. What is a tanfis? That's the next thing we're going to look at. When we say tanfis in Lugatul Arabiya, a tanfis is what we call tagir, right? A tagir, تغيير الفعل إلى المستقبل. التغيير الفعل إلى المستقبل. You change a fail to مستقبل. Particularly لا سيما فعل المضارع. فعل المضارع to past. If you change فعل المضارع to the future, then we have what we call تنفيذ. التنفيذ is also called التصويف والمستقبل. التصويف. Tasweef is using the word sofa. Okay, sofa. The use of the word sofa. And then mustaqbal is the use of seen. Both of them are implications of past tense. So in Arabic grammar, anytime somebody asks you to define a tanfis, that's the meaning of it. التنفيذ is تغيير الفعل إلى المستقبل أو تغيير فعل المضارع إلى المستقبل. You change it to the future, and that is what we call تنفيذ. Now, let's look at an example. So another way that you can introduce fa al-jawab into the jumla to jawab is when there's tanfis, when there's a scene for the future or sofa indicating future. So let's go back to point number 6. He says أن يكون number 6, point number 6 here. أن يكون الجملة الفعلية مقرونة بالسين. أن يكون بالسين أو سوف. For example, ومن يستنكف عن إبادته ويستكبر فسا. This is fa al-jawab. And this scene is what? Litansif, isn't it? This scene is for what? It's litanfis. Sorry, litanfis. Tanfis. Litanfis. Foul jawab. So you see scene here. Woman yakstankif. This is where it started. Adat al-shart. Fail al-shart. Right? Or jumla al-shart. And then jawab al-shart. Right here. Right there. So فسيحشرهم إليه جميعا. فسيحشرهم إليه جميعا. فالجواب, this scene is sofa. It means it's for the future. It's not now. وقوله تعالى ومن يفعل ذلك عدوانا وظلما. ومن يفعل ذلك عدوانا وظلما فسوف. So here we have the sofa. Remember, tanfis is where you use seen for the future or you use sofa to indicate future. That is the definition of tanfis. But we mean is where you the verb is flipped, right, from mudare to future. For instance, azhabu, and then we say sa'azhabu. Sa'azhabu. Or you say sofa azhabu. Sa'azhabu, sofa azhabu. Some scholars are saying they all mean the same thing. Other grammarians are saying that the sofa indicates what we call long-term future, means it's not going to happen now. And then sa'azhabu means abrupt or sudden action. You're going to do it now. So one is a short term, one is long term. But some grammarians are saying there's no difference. If you say sofa azhabu, means I will go. Or sofa sa'adhabu, I will go. Sofa azhabu, I will go. But some grammarians are saying one sofa is more longer than sa. Sa is short term, sofa is long term. Others are saying no, they are the same. Allahu alam. Now, the concept of tanfis again, as far as jawab al-shart, jumla al-shart, and adat al-shart, or the creation of conditional sentences are concerned in Lughat al-Arabiya, is when you have sofa and you are using man that can do jazm to fill mudari, two of them, then you're gonna introduce fa when you have sofa here. So here we are focusing on the sofa, and then fasayakhshuruhum, we are focusing on the scene. So the use of scene and sofa is what we call what? At-tanfis. And then we use scene and sofa to flip fi'l mudari to the future. That is to say, to deliver the implication of a future tense. Sofa and then scene. Let's do some more. Let's see what we have coming up. I think so far we have exhausted the rules. Okay, the writer has tambih for us. Tambih, nota bene. قد يقترن قد يقترن جواب الشرط بإذا. He's saying that sometimes, not all the time, probably, the jawabu shart can be paired, can be coupled with either. And this either is called fujaiya. Fujaiya. When we say something is fujaiya, it is what we call abruptness. So we can say it's either abruptness or either for suddenness. Something happened without you expecting it. Either comes or it happens so suddenly. So we call it either fujaiya. It's fuja. Or sometimes some people say mufaja'a. Mufaja'a. Now, this either fujaiya can be what? Can be zarf al-zaman. Some people say it's zarf al-zaman or zarf al-makan. So let's look at an example of it from the footnote. Let's look at what the writer is saying on the footnote. He said, wakila fi either, wakila fi either. That grammarians have, made some statements regarding either, fujaiya. They are saying innaha zarf zaman. Some are saying it's zarf zaman. Hope you know zarf zaman, so I'm not going to explain it. Wakila innaha zarf makan. Now, wakila, and some are saying harfu lil mufaja'a. It's a harf of what? Suddenness. So three point of views. So first group of grammarians, they say either. Because when you say either, it can mean when, which is time, right? And then if you say it's zarf makan, what about where? Where? Right? And then fujaiya, it may just mean suddenly, right? Suddenly. That's the meaning of it. Either suddenly. So you can call it, whether you call it either zarfiya, limakan, or lizaman, or lilmufaja'a, or fujaiya. This is what you have to know, that sometimes in Arabic, the jawab asharat can be paired with either instead of the fa that we know. So the writer is saying fatanubu, fatanubu, fatanubu. Then it will take the place of anil fa. It will take the place of the fa. So if you use either fujaiya, it takes the place of the what? Of the fa. All right? It takes the place of the fa. في الربط. وبالشرط, on condition أن يكون الجواب الجملة اسمية. So this is the condition one. والجازم in, and then the jazm that you are applying must be what? In. So you cannot use any form of jazm. Remember, we have so many jazms. We have in, we have man, we have anna, and on and on. We've learned a lot of them. These are all jazms. But if you can use either hujaiya to replace, right, tanubu, to replace the fa, then you have to meet these two conditions. Okay, the statement in the jawab, jumla to jawab, must be ismiya. It must be met. So if you haven't met this condition, then you can use idha fujaiya. Secondly, al-jazm that you can use is in only. So let's look at an example. In tusibhum sayyi'atum bima qaddamat aydihim idha hum yaqnatun. Hum, ism, is damir, but it's introducing ism. So it's jumlat ismiya. وقوله تعالى وإن لم تعطوا منها إذا. So إذا فجائية. إذا فجائية. So here the meaning is not when or where. So the meaning can be then, see, then. That would be more appropriate. But it's showing suddenness. But is it really suddenness? Then it's up for argument. Whether it's ظرف الزمان, ظرف المكان, أو حرف المفاجأة. Again, the question now is, when can you use إذا فجائية in place تنوب نائب? Remember نائب, right? تنوب عن الفاء. When can إذا فجائية replaces the fa? It can only replace the fa when you have جملة اسمية in the what? In the shart, in the jawab, right? أن يكون جواب جملة اسمية. The جواب الشرط must be جملة اسمية, not the fail shart. And now والجازم. Now when we say jazm, anything that makes something jazm is jazm. We have so many. And the one that is required for this flipping or transformation is in. You cannot use like man, right? You can't use man. You cannot use it. Or you cannot use um any form of jazm. You cannot use any form of jazm. You cannot use any form of jazm, but you can only use what? In. You cannot use ma, right? You cannot use also ma. The only jazm you can use is in again. I hope you have benefited from this lesson. Inshallah, next time we meet, we're going to look at إعراب الشرط والجواب. دمتم بخير. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.